A lot of gardeners quit before they even start. You watch a tutorial where someone plants into raised beds full of black compost that looks like chocolate cake, and then you walk outside, dig a hole, and find dry, pale dirt. It immediately feels like a lost cause. But tomatoes are highly adaptable. They are not chasing luxury conditions to produce fruit. Their biological priority is survival. And if you understand how to trigger that survival instinct, they will grow in sandy soil, in rocky dirt, or heavily compacted clay. Actually, chasing the ideal garden mix can sometimes backfire. When soil is excessively rich, gardeners often end up accidentally creating huge, leafy green plants that yield very few actual tomatoes because the plant lacks the slight stress needed to trigger reproduction. The strategy changes entirely when you stop trying to amend your entire yard. Instead, your goal is to build a concentrated 12 to 18-inch survival pocket directly around a single plant. To set this up, you only need 5 things: a resilient seedling, a shovel, a small amount of compost or bagged soil, some form of mulch, and a balanced fertilizer. By shifting your focus from fixing a whole garden bed to constructing the right local conditions for one plant, you create an environment where that tomato can focus on producing fruit rather than fighting to stay alive. The first step in this pocket method is selecting the right plant. A giant beefsteak tomato requires massive amounts of water and nutrients to mature successfully. In poor dirt, a plant with those heavy resource requirements will quickly exhaust its surroundings and drop its flowers. Smaller varieties offer a distinct biological advantage here. Cherry tomatoes, Romas, and determinate varieties require a fraction of the energy and moisture to produce mature fruit. They naturally fit difficult conditions because they don't demand a perfect environment to complete their growth cycle. Once you have a resilient seedling, the physical hole matters more than the ground around it. You need to dig down deep, between 12 and 18 inches. You are not filling this hole with pure potting soil. Take the weak native dirt you just removed and blend it with a few handfuls of compost or aged manure. This creates a launch pad, a transitional mix that gives the young plant initial support without spoiling it. Matching a low-resource cherry or Roma plant with a highly targeted pocket of essential nutrients prevents early transplant shock and establishes a firm foothold in otherwise hostile ground. Tomatoes have a unique biological trait that experienced growers use to their advantage in bad soil. They can grow entirely new roots directly out of any buried section of their main stem. This diagram shows a shallow planted tomato. The tiny root system is trapped near the surface, making it entirely vulnerable to heat. But plant the seedling deep into an 18-inch pocket, and that buried stem sprouts an expansive underground network, pulling moisture from deep below. But poor soil rarely stays consistently dry. The secondary threat is how violently bad dirt swings between extremes, drying out into concrete one week and turning into heavy, compacted mud the next. Tomatoes despise inconsistency. When bare, wet ground rapidly bakes and evaporates in the sun, that erratic moisture swing directly stresses the plant. This is the primary trigger for dropped flowers, cracked fruit, and blossom end rot. You counteract this mechanically. Applying a thick layer of mulch, like straw, dried grass clippings, or wood chips, directly over your pocket acts as life support. It blocks the sun, slows evaporation, and regulates the temperature of the dirt below. When you pair a deep, extensive root system with a heavily insulated surface, you eliminate the extreme environmental swings that cause a tomato plant to stop producing. Even with a deep pocket and good mulch, a plant in poor soil might look weak early on. The immediate panic reaction is to dump heavy amounts of high-nitrogen fertilizer onto the base to force it to grow. This comparative chart shows exactly what happens when you do that. On the left, excessive nitrogen overstimulates the plant. It abandons fur production entirely, redirecting all its energy into explosive leaf growth. The correct approach is a moderate, consistent feeding schedule. Applying a balanced tomato fertilizer or diluted fish emulsion every couple of weeks provides exactly what the plant needs without overwhelming it. Slow and steady feeding prevents the plant from panicking. By restraining the urge to force rapid growth, you force the plant to prioritize heavy fruit clusters over endless green foliage. Following these steps leaves you with a deeply rooted, perfectly insulated, and steadily fed tomato plant, thriving right in the middle of a barren yard. And there is a long-term compound effect to doing this. Season after season, as your straw, leaves, and targeted compost break down, they slowly begin to repair the native dirt surrounding the pocket. That gradual decay increases microbial life. Earthworms move in, moisture retention improves, and over time, what used to be dead dirt becomes biologically active, productive garden soil without intensive labor. In the end, starting with awful dirt forces you to master the mechanics that actually matter: strong root depth, consistent moisture control, and balanced feeding. If you want more practical, real-world gardening strategies that work without a picture-perfect yard, make sure to subscribe. And let me know in the comments which resilient tomato varieties you are planning to test in your own soil this